Hare Krishna, Varam Dandat Pranam. I am welcoming all of you who have joined, and we are very fortunate to have His Grace Sudhir Gopal Prabhu with us. He's a senior Vaishnava in our congregation. He's a core member of our IBC, and they are the one who like a pillar for our whole congregation. Actually, the core team members. So I'm welcoming Prabhuji. Actually, he holds. He is a mechanical engineer, IIT Delhi, from IIT Delhi, and he is working in the software industry as a senior leadership program. He holds a senior leadership there, and he's guiding many families actually in the congregation. Because of Prabhuji and family, many of them they become very nice Vaishnava in our congregation. Because of that, we are able to practice. They are the pillar for all of us. And I'm very fortunate inviting Prabhuji to our congregation to discuss about Ekadasi Mahatmya, Ekadasi GITA. Thank you, Prabhuji, accepting us and coming to our congregation and giving classes. Thank you so much. Welcoming once again, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, just do a quick kirtan, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. You want me to do, or you can do, Prabhu? Please, you can. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Snapristhaya Bhutale Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunnavadi Paschata Desatarini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jayo Jayo Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yajna ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Hare Krishna Om Jnana ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदम। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Our Krishna Karunamurti Prabhu, Srinidhi Gaur Hari Prabhu, and Kartikeya Prabhu, and all the wonderful devotees who have been leading our Bellandur congregation so wonderfully. And thanks for giving us an opportunity to interact. We always eager to look forward to come and meet all of you to get a lot of inspiration, because the way you have been really organizing the Gita courses and so many other programs is really admirable. Thank you very much. So today we'll be speaking on a very interesting topic. The Prabhuji has asked to discuss something on Ekadasi. And at the same time, he has titled it as a feasting on fasting. Yes, so let's try to make a humble endeavor to speak on this subject. With the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and all our acharyas, definitely we can make an humble attempt to speak on this subject. Okay, you can see my screen, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. I'm able to see, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Very good. Thank you. So yes, this is feasting on fasting on the Ekadasi, and how it really helps us in the nourishment of our three elements: body, mind, and soul. Especially, I hear that like most of the participants of this group are from Gita course of Janmashtami last year, and all of you have been attending all our programs, mostly virtually. Hardly might have attended any of our physical programs. So you might not know what exactly about the Krishna consciousness or ISKCON is all about. So what do you think ISKCON is all about? Any thoughts? Is it really, lot of right pushing and pulling and what else? What comes to your mind when you think of this Gita course groups or the devotees or this institution is all about? What is your thought?
Devotees can use the chat box. The chat box is open.
What comes to your mind? Okay. So Prabhupada describes it that what exactly is this movement is all about in just one word. He says that ISKCON is a feasting movement. Yes, Samya Mata is saying devotion, pushing towards Krishna and helping us to. So most importantly, Prabhupada has said that it is a feasting movement. Why we say it's a feasting movement? Like we'll just hear what exactly Prabhupada is saying in one of the purports that Prabhupada has given as a part of the one bhajan, like this Gaurangara Dhutipada bhajan is there. And in that bhajan, like Prabhupada has given this purport. So maybe I can read it out. Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are very pleasing. Because the basic principles of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement are chanting, dancing, and eating Krishna Prasadam. He made his headquarters in Jagannath Puri and would dance, chant, and then immediately call for prasad to be distributed to the devotees. They were so pleased that every day hundreds of men would come to chant and dance with Lord Chaitanya. The temple proprietor, the king of Odisha, Maharaj Prataprudra, had an open order to the workers in the temple to supply as much prasad to Lord Chaitanya's devotees as they wanted. Therefore, his pastimes are very pleasing. Chant, dance, and take prasadam. If one is captivated by the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, simply by chanting, dancing, and eating prasadam, the dirty things in his heart will all become cleansed. The heart of anyone who takes to this movement of chanting, dancing, and eating Krishna prasadam will surely be cleansed of all dirty material contamination. So I believe now you are convinced what exactly this movement is all about. This movement is nothing else than chanting, dancing, and feasting. This movement is all about how the devotees can come together and chant the holy names of the Lord. This movement is all about how we can come together while chanting the name of the Lord. We dance together, we inspire each other in completely maddened, in an intoxicated way. And then once you are really a little bit tired, then honor prasadam. Like Prabhupada has defined here, this is a feasting movement, and it's a feasting for our body, mind, and soul through this chanting, dancing, and feasting. Because I had to bring it out because before sharing about fasting on the Ekadasi, our movement is not about fasting, it's about feasting. Because some of you might not have attended our physical programs where we serve opulent prasadam in all our programs. Virtually, that is a kind of a limitation that we are not able to offer you. But would like to bring to your notice that our movement is all about feasting. At the same time, we'll just talk about why we perform this component of devotional service. Something is called fasting on Ekadasi. So before going to the scriptures or what our acharyas are saying, we'll focus a little bit more from the modern Mahajanas, because I hear that all of you are coming from diverse background. So first we'll take care of the modern Mahajanas, the scientists, what exactly they talk about. So today we'll be covering a lot on biology, geography, and mathematics, and a lot many topics today. So please be ready to revise your science concepts and also geography as well. Okay, let's start. Okay, so yes, this is what we'll be doing. We'll be focusing what is Ekadasi and why do you observe Ekadasi. So most of the time we'll be spending today on this topic because I think that is the most important part, like why we observe Ekadasi, right? And then of course towards the end we'll have also how do you observe Ekadasi, what is the mood, and what are the details of that. And definitely we'll have some time for Q&A as well. Okay, so we'll be going in a flow. So if you have any questions, definitely you can just jot it down, you can note it down. And towards the end, once we will have a Q&A session, you'll have ample time to ask your questions. Okay, but please be attentive because otherwise you'll not be able to release the flow. Okay. Okay, so what is Ekadasi? Ekadasi is all about the 11th lunar day. Because yes, before coming to let's say Krishna conscious movement, when we think of Ekadasi, like especially the people from Maharashtra, they talk about Asadi Ekadasi, or people from South India, they talk about Vaikuntha Ekadasi. So how many Ekadasis are there in a year? Anybody can say? Is it only one or two? We already gave some hints. Oh, yes, 24. Thank you very much, K. Yes, you come from a Vaishnava family. You know it. Yes. Yes. So because we said that, lunar will follow lunar calendar, which really goes fortnight to fortnight, Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. Right? And then as we have Ditya, Khetrutiya, Ganesh Chaturthi, Basant Panchami, Sital Sashti, and all that. Like we have Dasami, Vijaya Dasami, and Ekadasi, and Dwadasi, Trayodasi, right? So like Ekadasi is the 11th day of the lunar month. And here, like of course, we have two pakshas, right? One is really the Sukla Paksha, or the waxing moon, or the brightening moon, right? Or the Krishna Paksha is a waning moon, or like the fading moon, right? And once we talk about 11th day, right? Like 11th day on both the sides of the month. Okay. Now let's understand a little bit deeper meaning of Ekadasi Upavas. So we understand what is Ekadasi. Eka means 1, Dasa means 10. So 1 plus 10 is 11, right? And now, once we understood Ekadasi, the meaning of Ekadasi, which is really 11th day of this, Paksha, Sukla Paksha, or Krishna Paksha. What do you mean by Upavas? Upavas means Upa means staying closer, like we say Upanishads, and so on, right? So Upavas means closer, nearer. And Vasa means Vasati, right? Like the root dhatu is Vasati, right? Vas. So like staying closer to the Lord. So Upavas is not really about fasting. Upavas means how we can really stay closer to the Lord. Does it mean that, okay, wherever the Lord resides, we'll go to a temple and we'll stay there? Does it mean that? Yes. Thanks to Pinti Mataji, she's so brilliant, she's smart. She's saying that on Purushottam months, where like when that extra month is there, on that year we'll have 26. Otherwise, it's a 24 in a month. Thank you, Mataji. So yes, Upavasa means staying closer to the Lord, and it doesn't mean that staying physically closer to the Lord. It means that how we can have our body, mind, and soul, closer to the Lord. Like Upavasa, like we are reducing our bodily and the needs during that month, and we are really engaging all our senses, and specifically we can say Ekadasi, right? So 11 senses, our 5 karmendriyas and 5 gyanendriyas and the mind. All these 11 things, how we can really engage and keep it closer to the Lord. How we can dovetail all these senses for the pleasure of the Lord. So that is Ekadasi Upavas. So I hope, especially, yes, most of the times we know about Ekadasi, but most of the times we have this myth of what exactly Upavas. Upavas means we think that it is just a fasting only. We have to torture ourselves and torment our body. So we'll understand a little deeper as we grow further. Okay, so now we understood a little bit on the Ekadasi, right, and Upavas. Let's move further. So, like now, let's try to understand the reasons of why do you observe Ekadasi, and we'll cover multiple facets of it through the multiple dimensions. We'll try to understand scientifically, through astronomically, through our Puranas, through spiritual perspective, and what exactly are the benefits out of it. So let's start with scientific perspective. Okay, so this is let's go to the biology. Biology, we hear that the smallest unit of our body is a cell. In a cell, we have the nucleus, and within that nucleus, we have something called nucleic acid. And within the nucleic acid, like we have this chromosomes, right? Different like living entities, they have different chromosomes. Some of the animals, like they have hundreds of chromosomes, and the human beings we have right, like 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes we have. And these chromosomes really help us, right, in really trying to, and so many aspects. It helps in synthesizing protein, in replication of our bodily cells, and encoding the proteins, and also this DNA is also you can consider, like they consider the blueprint of our genetics, of our hereditary, and so on, right? So yes, DNA, some of you heard, right? This deoxyribonucleic acid and this DNA, RNA, some of you might have heard. Of course, I think some of the doctors are also here, I guess. So definitely much better than I do. But just to give you a glimpse, right? So once, right, like we talk about this DNA and these chromosomes, and towards the end of this chromosome, there is this component called telomere, right? And as the body, right, divides over a period of time, this telomere also gets shortened. And the more number of years we go through, this gets shortened and shortened. And with that, the function of this unit really gets lost, and sometimes these chromosomes, they come together and you really lose the valuable, this blueprint information, and people are more prone to like aging and so many other diseases. And then there was this some of the scientists in the year of 2009, right? They kind of come up with this plan, and for that they got really this Nobel Prize. They say that like somehow or other, if we really keep this unit like telomere as it is, or reduce the shortening of this telomere, we can increase the lifespan, and we can reduce the aging. And they did a lot of experiment, and they found that one of the way that they can really reduce the shortening of this telomere is really by fasting. So if somebody does really fasting, and then it really helps in maintaining that unit. Like this unit, like you can see, like it looks like the shoeless plastic at the end of the shoelace, right? So it doesn't look like, but if you don't have that shoeless plastic at the end of the lace, right, it really goes over, the thread comes out, right? It's a similar concept you can think, like from the layman's perspective, right? So as that goes away, right, and then of course, as we said, aging increases and so on, but then the fasting is one of the right way, or the driver through which we can reduce this aging. And then the second aspect, they said that whoever having a lifestyle, positive lifestyle, like, or in our term we can paraphrase it as a like sattvic lifestyle, or the mode of goodness lifestyle, with no meat eating, or no intoxication, and no smoking, right? It also reduces the shortening of the telomere. So net, what we are trying to say is that, like, these scientists, they have come up with this plan that like if somebody does the fasting for around 36 hours, in a span of 2 weeks, right? What like we have been hearing in our scriptures from our age-old days, this is called Ekadasi. This really helps in reducing our aging process and increasing their lifespan. Okay, this is one part of it. The second part, there is something called autophagy, and this is also once again by some Nobel Prize winning scientist called Christian de Duve, and he said that like we have some like decomposed parts of the cell, and how over a period of time the quantity of that really increases, and then it really creates a lot of inflammation and sometimes even cancer and so many other diseases. But then like if there is this process of auto means self, and phagy means really like eat, right? Like it has some component which really eats, or it's a digest, or it really takes care of, right, and destroying, right, this unused components of the cell. Then the toxic production can be really reduced. And once again, they have found that, like, yes, there is a high correlation between this fasting and this process of autophagy. And that's why they call this autophagy, is called the clean house, as they recycle the trash, right? Like, sometimes we have this batteries, right, or the cells, once the cell is discharged, we take a new one. But here, like in this cell, right, it's not only that, okay, we're just getting a new one, it's not that, but whatever is part in that cell is really destroyed, it really gets decomposed quickly, and so the new part really gets produced, right? So in that way, it really helps also in keeping our body fit. So what we are trying to say is that through this process of fasting, it really helps in detoxifying our body. It helps us in bringing our body much more fitter and physically fit. That is the first reason that we wanted to really bring it out from the scientific perspective, how it is really important. Now let's move forward. let's understand a little bit more from the astronomical perspective. As we said that, like how, this moon, right? Like, revolves around on axis and rotates, right, around the earth. And as we can see that, like, yes, the moon, right, rotates, like revolves around itself, right, within around 24 hours, 24.8 hours to be precise. And then, right, it also takes around 29 point some days to really, right, revolve completely rotate completely around the earth, right? And then they have understood that whenever there's a new moon or full moon, new moon means what? Like, here is a sun and here is your earth, right? And here, like, as the sun is really, there, right, coming from that side, like, and the moon is here. So despite of the moon, you cannot see. That's what you see, the dark moon or new moon. But in this case, right, where, right, the earth is in between sun and moon, you can see the full moon because this sun's illumination coming there directly, to the moon, right? And in both the cases, what they have found, it has its effect on the ocean tide. Whenever it's a new moon and full moon, they found that, and it's a natural process, right? There's a high tide during that day, on new moon and full moon day. Why? Because just like, once you put something up, throw something up, it really comes down because the gravitational force of the earth. Similarly, there is also gravitational force of sun and moon. And when all they are in one straight line, the gravitational pull of the sun and moon increases, right? At that point of time, because of the right, this synergy of the gravitational force of the sun and moon, the tide becomes higher, this new moon. And at the same time, it's just true as well for the full moon day. So what are you trying to say? On this Purnima or Amavasya day, there is a high tide. So what does it mean? Why you're talking about this? Okay. So it is, we'll talk about, right, like, once again, some more scientists, like, how this moon is really related, to the different plants and the body parts. Is, as you said, like, we'll take directly from the journals and from the scientists, what exactly they have done the research over the years. So here, like from the botany perspective, there is this plant called, Arabidopsis thaliana, right? And they studied and they found that, like, this root growth, the growth of the root of this plant, it follows some pattern, right, of 24-hour, like, like we say, like, it's a pattern, right, and it's a cyclic pattern, right, as the moon, right, revolves around the, right, the earth, like, and on its own axis as well, and also as it really revolves, right, it really follows some pattern. And yes, right, it's not really that significant, but it's like, to the nano range, right, which might not be visible to our naked eyes, but definitely through the sophisticated instrument, we can see that, there is this movement of the water particles. And they have also seen that, like, even it really, affects the people's mood as well. That's why, right, it is said that if somebody is really crazy or gone mental, they call lunatic, because the king of the mind is the moon. So the mind and the moon, they are like man, moon. Even the moon, the English word moon comes from the Sanskrit one man. Right. So how we can understand from here our minds, impressions, and our thoughts are also affected by the moon. And to extend it further, like, if we really understand that, like, in the ocean's case, and the expansion of the water tides are much higher, or in these plants, it could be really some nano size. And what about our body? Our body also contains more than 80% of the water, and then definitely it would have also some effect, isn't it? And it is said that especially the grains like your rice and wheats and pulses, they take more water, for your, while they really go through this process of crop, right? Like so it really takes much more water during that time, right? But also, right, for digestion also it takes more water, and it also absorbs and stores more water, right, in those grains and pulses. So that's why, like, we try to avoid, especially starting from the day of Ekadasi, to empty our body from this grains and pulses, so that we can reduce the water, like absorption or water intake through that grains as much as possible, so that over the 4 days, right, because it says that from the bodily part that really gets consumed to take brain, it takes a couple of days, right? So during that period of time, 3 to 4 days, it really, our body is really got detoxified, and also, right, or that water consumption is really during that point of time it less. So of course we are not saying that we should reduce your water intake, because as we take water intake, definitely it goes out, right, through urine, but like absorption in the body happens once we have more grain components. Are we okay so far? Like as we talked about from the scientific perspective and astronomical perspective, why we are the scientific process is there, why not to eat grains during this point of time? Okay, so let's move forward. As we talked already 2 perspectives, now let's hear some stories from the Puranas. So there is this story from Garga Samhita. It really talks about that how at some point of time, like there were the creation had happened, and during that time there was this demon called Mura, and he was really creating havoc. Was staying in a place called Chandravati. He tried to conquer this Amaravati, where the demigods were staying, and then, like being overpowered by this Mura demon, and Devatas were fleeing everywhere, and they took shelter of Lord Vishnu, and the Lord Vishnu, he came to take care of this demon Mura. And after a good fight, Lord defeated and made him unconscious, and then said, okay, let me go and take rest now in this Hemavati, in this Badrinarayan. And once he was taking rest, and then this Mura demon, he came out, with more energy, and started running. Oh, where is Lord Vishnu? Now let me, try to teach a lesson to him. And then as he was about to, right, hit the Lord with the sword, and at that point of time, this divine lady came out and really, chopped his head. And hearing that sound, and the Lord woke up and saw that, like, this head is really falling, of this demon Mura, and then this divine goddesses is appearing in front of him. And the Lord asked, "Who are you, O Devi?" And they said, "I am Ekadasi." And now, somehow I could not see that somebody is really harming you. I came, to take care of, whatever is required at this point of time. And Lord said, "I'm very happy the service that you have done, and you are really out of my, spiritual body. You are the divine potency of mine, and I really empower you, right? So that on this day that you appeared, once people will start performing their vows and tapasyas, they will really get immense benefit. They will get so much of pious credit." And it is said that, like, there was the Ekadasi, and every Ekadasi, whenever somebody performs this, any tapasya, right, they get immense benefit, as empowered by Lord Vishnu. There is this another story that was from Garga Samhita, this from Padma Puran. So one time, right, Jaimini Rishi asked Vyasadeva, it is there in the Padma Purana 14th chapter, how once again this during this creation, right, yes, Lord creates like the place for enjoyment, and also he also creates a place for jail also, because of our stupid mind, we always go opposite, think opposite, as against the what exactly required by the Lord to please the Lord. So at that time, yes, Lord has created Yamaraj, and also Lord has created, the places where they can really perform divine pastimes, and they can really approach the Supreme Lord. And during that process, there was this personification of sin, right, called Papa Purusa also was created. And he was creating so much terror that it was once again impetus, right, for the people who had forgotten about the Lord, that whenever they were thinking of Papa Purusa, now there is some calamity is coming. Now let's take shelter of the Lord, because different people approach the Lord differently. Jab tak everything is happy, right, hardly you go to the Lord. But then once you need some trigger, some calamity, then people approach the Supreme Lord. So like that was Papa Purusa's job. But then there was also this divine lady called Ekadasi. She was really souring the blissful aura to all the living entities. And then this Papa Purusa approached Lord Vishnu. Since this Ekadasi appeared and everybody is really remembering and taking shelter of Ekadasi, and I don't have any shelter, I don't have any customer, where to go? And then this Lord said, okay, definitely you have also a place. And especially on the day of Ekadasi, if somebody really takes grains, right, you can really take shelter of him. So you can really take shelter in the grains, like all the wheats and pulses and so on. And whoever takes grains on the day of Ekadasi, he's your customer. That's a place of residence for you. That is another story, right? So we heard like three perspectives: scientific, astronomical perspective, and from the Puranic perspective. So now let's ask ourselves, right? Of course, for us, we are more concerned about what the acharyas are saying, because even if we know that, okay, science also has its own limitations, or even the Puranas, they have its own limitations, because different shastras sometimes tell different things. But for a devotee, he follows that what exactly the acharyas are saying to us. What is the recommendation of the acharyas? It is mentioned that Tarko pratistho srutaya vivinna na sauru siryasya matam na bhinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yeno gata sapantha. Yes, there could be so many apparent contradictions even in shastras or in so many things that we do. Srutaya vivinna, and a different philosophy that may come out from the different stuff. At that time, how should we really follow our dharma? At that time, our focus should be Mahajana Yena Gata Sapanta. How our Mahajanas, they have followed it. Because most of the times, what do? We follow, okay, what exactly our senses are saying. If senses want some pleasure, if it is really pleasing for senses, then we do it. If it's not pleasing for our senses, we reject it. That's really the animalistic lifestyle, right? But then as we move further, we say, okay, our decision box then comes is that, okay, it is dharmic or it is non-dharmic. If it is based on Manu Samhita and all the scriptures, or it is just some mental concept, then we just ignore it, we reject it. And then as we progress further, yes, it's a moral or immoral, it's ethical or unethical. That really becomes the decision box as our consciousness grows up from the animalistic lifestyle, from the sense gratification to the process of realizing. But then as we progress further in our consciousness, right, we don't only limit ourselves from dharmic to morality or to ethics, but more what will really please the Supreme Lord, what will really please our acharyas. Then our decision box remains Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, this tripod. We really take that as really our compass to decide whether I should do it or not. So yes, we understood, we heard about it, but more importantly, what we have been discussing now from next on is really the important. What we are discussing now is that we are following this Ekadasi because it is being told by our Vaishnava Siddhantas, Vaishnava Shastras, and our Acharyas, and our all the sadhus, right? They have practiced it and they have preached it for our benefit, and that's what we are doing it. Hope I am clear on this part, right? Because we are not so much even worried about, okay, even this papa and punya, or even this scientific or or the astronomical period. Yes, it makes sense. It is important for us to understand, but most importantly, as we really move forward, to hear from the acharyas. So let me start with this very beautiful verse from Srimad-Bhagavatam. All of us know that Srimad-Bhagavatam is called the essence of all the scriptures. Sarva Vedanta Saram hi Sri Bhagavatam isyate Tatra Samrita Triptasya Nattirarati Kvachit. It is said that the Bhagavatam is the essence of all the Vedas and Upanishads and everything. And somebody has really taken shelter of Bhagavatam, and he doesn't have to go anywhere else. So in this fifth canto, in this chapter called fifth chapter, where Lord Rishabdev is telling, to his sons, 100 sons led by Bharat, you can say, with his name also, our land, this Punya Bhumi is called Bharat Varsha, right? It's one of the reasons, right? So here, he is telling, Lord Rishabdev is telling to his sons very beautifully, Nayam deho deha bhajam ruloke Kastan kamanarhate vidbhujamye tapo divyam putra kayena sattvam sudhet yasmad brahma sokyam tvanantam. He's saying that Lord Rishabdev told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hogs that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and one attains this position. He attains eternal blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. So here in this verse, very strongly, it might sound very strong, the words of Lord Rishabdev. What he's saying that we might have heard even in our beginning of the Gita course days. What is the same between animals and living entities, and what is the difference? Anybody remembers? Anybody remembers? We might have discussed in our Gita course beginning days. What is the common between the animal and living entities, or the human beings specifically, and what is the difference between these two? Anyone remembers? All of you have been hearing, yes. Evolved intelligence, or Janaki Mata is saying humans can chant. Okay, very good. All of you are so advanced. Okay, Mata is saying intelligence, animal don't create karma. Okay. Yeah. So here, eating, defending, mating, yes, exactly. There's four things. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maithunamscha. They are common to both animals and also the human beings. So here, Rishabdev is saying to his sons, even the animals, they do this eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. And if you are continuing to do that same thing, same four things, and you are not different than animal, he's saying stool eating animal. Like sometimes in the Bhagavatam, like Bhagavatam speaks like sometimes as a teacher, sometimes as a friend, sometimes as a lover. Like in different contexts, Bhagavatam gives us the instruction in a different ways. So in this context, Bhagavatam is really strong, really saying that don't be a stool eating animal. And don't engage yourself in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, right? But this human life, you got it, right? To attain this eternal blissful spiritual life. And you have to start that by doing some voluntarily accepting some suffering, voluntarily taking some austerities. It's not just, right, like we just enjoy Madi and then just we die like this animals. And our body will really get integrated with this, the earth, either as a bid bhasma, as a ass, or as an insect, or as a stool of some birds, right? No, or this body is meant for some higher purpose. And yes, we should do something through which we can go closer to the Supreme Lord. We should do something for getting closer to the lotus feet of the Lord, following the Acharya's instructions, not just for this so-called flickering material happiness, which will just go and which will come and go on its own. But then we should really search for something which is really permanent, which is really, Satchid Ananda, which is really knowledgeable, which is really full of bliss. And we should really follow that process. And what is that? We should tapo divyam. We should follow some austerities and some penances. And we should do voluntarily, because if you don't do voluntarily, then what happens? We'll be forced to perform some austerities. Yes, people do austerities of going to the office 2 hours and coming back 2 hours, or like if nothing happens outside, then we get the austerities at home. Definitely, if austerities are bound to come, either you stay at home or outside, it is bound to come. But then a devotee says that he gets that intelligence that, okay, I don't have to suffer like this, being forced by this tridents of the Maya. But then how can I really do some voluntary suffering, some tapasya, so that I can really get closer to the Supreme Lord. And even that is, it's not only for the like sadhakas, but also even for the great souls. Even that is what Bhagavad Gita also is saying. Yajna dana tapo karma natyajyam karyam eva tat yajna danam taposchaiva pavanani manisinam. So as we said, it's not only for the conditioned living entities, even for the great soul, even for the manisinas, right? They have to do some yajna dana tapa karma. This sacrifice, charity, and penance. These 3 things have to be performed even for the great souls. So either we might say that, okay, we are part of the living entities, like conditioned souls, or we are the great souls. Whoever we are, we have to do this 3 things. Everybody, we cannot really run away from it. Okay, so now what exactly our acharyas are saying, especially all of us, especially who are in this movement of ISKCON or like Gaudiya Parampara, Brahma Madhava, Gaudiya Sampradaya, we call ourselves as a Rupanugas. We are the followers of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, because he received the instruction directly from Mahaprabhu, because Gaur Purnima is coming on this Friday only. So we thought that, okay, we'll take something from the pastimes of Mahaprabhu as well. So here, Mahaprabhu had given all the instructions to Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami and Prayag and Varanasi, during their one-on-ones and exclusive time. And then all these Goswamis, they have documented all these principles that was given by Mahaprabhu for our benefit, so that we can go through that readings, go through what exactly the instructions of Mahaprabhu, and can really apply it in our life. So Rupa Goswami has given a very beautiful book called Upadesamrita, the Nectar of Instruction. It's a very small book, only 11 verses are there. It really takes a person from from the beginning stage to then the high stage of the love of Godhead. And the first verse, right, it is mentioned about Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jivha vegam udaropastha vegam etan veganyo visahe tadhira sarvam api mam prithvim sosisyat. So here, it talks about how a person has to really engage. We discussed about how we should really, focus not on the sense gratification, but on the self-realization. All right. And this process of self-realization, how we should really tolerate the provocations that might come through. How we should really tolerate, how we should control our senses. And first is a bacha become, our speaking. Right, a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, mind's demand, the action of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So Bacha Begum, the speaking, Manasa, the mind, we know that how unsteady and disobedient it is, right? And Krodha, like how the Krodha comes with just a fit of movement, right, with slight provocations, whoever it is, or he or she is, right, we get this Krodha. Jivha Begam, we want to always eat and drink some delicious things, right? Udara Upastha Begam, Udara, like Udara Upastha, which is close to the or belly, which is the genitals, this is also very dangerous, it can really make you fall down, right, if you are a little bit of inattentive. So all this, how a devotee is very careful, and especially, Srila Prabhupada talks that these 3, this tongue or belly and genitals, they fall in the straight line. and they are really, really, very dangerous. And if you want to really control this, first we have to start with the tongue. If our tongue is controlled, then the other parts which is there in the straight line, they get controlled. But if our tongue is not controlled, okay, jo ji mein chahe wo khao, wo piyo, right? Jio piyo khao, yahi, bindas life, right? No, like how our Acharya is saying that, no, yes, we have to try to control our tongue, and that controlling of the tongue starts with taking some of these voluntary austerities of fasting, of then of course we are talking about only Krishna Prasadam. So hope you are able to understand why our acharyas have recommended, because our mind, like, it's just like in a groove, right? If you put some water, if there is grooves are there, water will follow automatically. So for us, what do we have to do? We have to put some dams in those grooves which is already created, and then we have to create some new grooves through which we can channelize that water into the positive way. Because otherwise what happens, sometimes some might ask that, okay, I'm already into Krishna consciousness, but still my mind is so unsteady, still my thoughts are not pure. Why it is so? Because it has been conditioned for lifetimes. So we have to ensure that how I have to really control, I have to really ensure that whatever the prabhuti or the vasanas that has been there in my body, how can I really close that? How can I really create new test and a new proclivity, new propensities, to engage them in the service of the Lord. Okay, so now what else? So yes, Rupa Goswami, we heard about this Upadesamrita, and then he has also given a very beautiful book called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, which is really a very, very important manual for us, as like all the, especially the devotees who are initiated or who are part of this parampara. And he has given something called 64 limbs of devotional service, 64 limbs of bhakti, and just like we can consider for our body to be fit, we need some nutrients, some vitamins, some supplements, and in a balanced way. So similarly, for our bhakti to progress, to really achieve that love of Godhead, he has given 64 limbs of bhakti. And one of that limb, one of the component of bhakti is really harivasa, right? Like, how we should perform Ekadasi. And this is the 9th limb in this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that is mentioned. So what is saying that Sarva Papa Prasamanam Punyam Atyantikam Tatha Govinda Smaranam Dronam Ekadasyam Upasanam. So here is really giving 3 benefits or the Ekadasi. What it really gives, it destroys all sins. Sarva Papa Prasamanam. And then Punyam Atyantikam, it really gains abundant pious credits. Yes, as we said, for a devotee, like, yes, sin and piety, right? Like, devotee goes beyond it. And most important thing, what is that? 3rd aspect, Govindam Smaranam Runam. Ekadasi really helps in getting closer to the Supreme Lord, so that we can get closer to the Supreme Lord. So Govindam, it helps us in really getting closer to the Supreme Lord. It helps in Govinda Smaranam, so that it helps us in really getting closer to the Supreme Lord. That's why one of our Acharya Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he says that how it is really okay. Okay, let's just bring it up again. This is a very beautiful bhajan he sings, and he has a beautiful bhajan called hope you can see my screen. So he says that in this bhajan called Saranagati, Madhavati thi bhakati janani jatane palana kori Krishna vasati boli paramadare gori. He said Madhava Tithi Bhakati Janani. This Madhava Tithi, this Tithi like Ekadasi, Janmashtami, or now this Gaur Purnima is coming on this Friday. The special days, they are the mother of devotion. Mother of devotion means it can really give us, it can really shower us with so much of bhakti unmukhi sukruti. It can really help us in getting closer to the Supreme Lord. And how potent they are. These are like the special days. These are like the super duper cell days, right? Like where you get this opportunity to really remember the Supreme Lord in a much more powerful way. Why? Also, there is some connection between this fasting and also in our chanting and the process of devotional service we do. A little bit more physiologically perspective. What happens once you take some food, or once we, after the food, most of the times, what do we feel? We feel a little drowsy, isn't it? Why? Maybe some of the doctors can tell it better, but it is said that the blood, like it really goes to our abdomen, and it really, puts more focus in digesting the elements, right? And that's why the blood circulation from our brain goes down, right? And then it focuses more on our abdomen or the digestive system. But then if we just reduce this bodily intake, or we can focus a little bit less on the digestive system, and then it can really, our blood circulation can happen more appropriately in the brain. So that's why, right, once we are heavy, we cannot chant properly, we cannot do our bhakti properly. That's why you should take, that's why Prabhupada said that we should take something, and then we should have some space for the water, some space for the air, right? It's not that we should take really till the neck, right? Then it really gets heavy. So yes, it's one of the reason also, on this day of fasting, so that we reduce all our bodily engagements, and we focus completely for the pleasure of the Lord. You heard this pastime of Govardhan Leela, right? How the Brajavasis, for the 7 days during Govardhan Leela, they were not doing anything, and they were so happy. Though outside there was so much of rain, so much of so-called calamities, but they were thinking that is an opportunity, the best time for us, because we are able to see the beautiful form of the Lord. Like they were thinking that, like gopis were thinking that, okay, we get some time only in the evening time or night time, or the gopas were saying only we are daytime, but this is the time where they were getting 24 hours. And especially in some part of the India, I know that on the day of Ekadasi, they really engage as much as possible in the devotional service. Not only the daytime, but also they say ujagar, right? To perform the devotional service. They chant more, they hear more, and they study more, and they serve more. And whatever we do on this other days, on this day of special days, which is really close to the Supreme Lord, which is special to the Supreme Lord, we do a little bit more. Okay, so yes, that's the Bani of Srila Prabhupada. What he's saying, to observe Ekadasi Brata and Dwadasi Brata means to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those interested in advancing in Krishna consciousness must observe Ekadasi Brata regularly. Srila Prabhupada is not saying here, you can do or you should do. Prabhupada is saying you must. Especially if you are really interested in advancing and getting closer to the, and this is what he is saying. And in this pastime, some of you might have heard this Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni, how the king of the mystic Durvasa Muni, he came once to meet Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj is known for dedicating everything in the service of the Lord. He was engaging all his senses. Savai mana Krishna padara vinda vacham savai kuntha gunanuvarnani. Like he was engaging his body, mind, and words, everything for the purpose of Lord. And he was following Ekadasi. And on the day of Dwadasi morning, he came. And then at the time, like this Durvasa Muni came, and he said, okay, please organize for me the prasadam. And he went, said, okay, I'm going now to take some bath, and once I come back, please ensure that I have everything. And then Ambarish Maharaj was ready with all the prasadam and everything, but at the same time, we'll hear now, in just a couple of minutes, on the day of Dwadasi also, we have to break the fast at certain point of time. We cannot just do it like till whatever we like, right? So, and that fast breaking time was really, this Paran time was really getting closer, and he said, okay, what should I do? And he took the suggestion from the minister and all the devotees, and he said, okay, you can take water, because water is considered okay, fasting and non-fasting as well. And then, but when Durvasa came and he heard that, he had broken his fast, he got really angry, and then, he brought up a demon and to really kill Ambrish Maharaj. But then, at this moment, Lord wanted to prove that, a devotee is really, higher than even the so-called mystics. And then how Sudarshan Chakra, he came and not only protected Ambrish Maharaj, and he killed that demon who had come out of this Durvasa, and he really chased even Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa Muni went everywhere to the Swarga Loka and the Brahma Loka and Shiva Loka, but nobody could protect, from this scorching hit of Sudarshan Chakra. And then finally he went to Vaikuntha, to the Lord Vishnu, and they said, "No, I cannot. Na parayam. I can. I am not independent. I am also under the dependent of my devotee. Yeah, like you have to now go and take shelter of Ambrish, and if he really forgives you, and then you are saved." And then finally said, "Oh Lord, you cannot also forgive me." And then he went to Ambrish Maharaj, and he fell down at the lotus feet. But then Ambrish Maharaj, he felt so sorry. Oh, because of me, you had to go through. So I'm really falling at your lotus feet. So this is the mood of a devotee once again. How instead of taking that vengeance, oh, you wanted to kill me, but now he's saying that, oh, because of me, you had to go through this. Let me know how can I serve you more and more. How can you really please you more and more? So in that pastime, like how beautifully, we see that how the Rajarsis, even they were performing this beautiful pastime of beautiful, this Ekadasi Vrata. And most importantly, as we are getting closer to Gaur Purnima, we thought that we'll have some pastime from our Gaur, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as well. So this is the pastime where it's the childhood pastime of Nimai. And one day, Nimai came to the mother of mother, like Sachi Mata, and he said, "Oh, Maya, what are you doing?" And he said in a very nice, loving way, "Ekadine matra pade kariya pranama, Prabhu ko he mata more deho ekodana." Nimai said to Sachi Mata, mother of Nimai, like this. And the childhood name of Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Nimai. He said, he fell down at the lotus feet of his mother, and he said, requested her to give me one charity. Deho ekadan, give me one gift. So mother said, okay, what do you need? Mata bole tai divo jatumi magive. Mother said, okay, my dear son, I'll give you whatever you ask. And then Nimai said, Prabhu ko Ekadasi te or nana khaive. And then Nimai said at that point, my dear mother, please do not eat grains on Ekadasi. Because especially in east part of India, some people, they say that, okay, the sadhavas, they should not perform Ekadasi. Only it is for vidhavas, Ekadasi should be performed. And here we can see that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the time when even his father was there, Jagannath Mishra, still he was saying that, oh mother, please, you should perform Ekadasi, and that will make me happy. That is the best gift that you can give it to me. From the childhood days of Mahaprabhu, he wanted to establish this Vaishnava Siddhantas. And then Sachi Mata, out of affection and love for her son, he said, Sachi kahe na khaivo bhalo hi kohila sei hoite Ekadasi korite lagila. And then Mother Sachi said, yes, my dear son Nima, you have spoken right thing. I shall not eat grains on Ekadasi. And from that day, she began to observe, fasting Ekadasi. So how we all of us know that that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different than the Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna nahi anya. And but he came as a devotee to establish the principles of bhakti. And as he came, and then he wanted to show by telling even to his mother that how we should perform Ekadasi. And there is one more pastime that happened like in Puri as well. Of course, every day Mahaprabhu used to perform wonderful pastimes along with his associates like Jagadananda Pandit, Swarab Damodar, Rai Ramananda, and so many devotees. and especially in Puri in different parts, and especially there is a place called Jagan, Vallabha Garden, right? And one day they were taking rest, and two of his associates called Saram Bhattacharya and Gopinath Acharya, they brought so nice prasadam, and we heard that why Mahaprabhu stayed in Puri, and that because so much of prasadam is there, like the prominence of Puri is that, like Anand Bazaar, all of you might be knowing, right? So like, however, whoever goes at any point of time, they can get prasadam. And they brought prasadam for Mahaprabhu. And that was the day of Ekadasi. And Mahaprabhu said, no, today is Ekadasi. Yes, we can offer like Arna Prasadam to the Supreme Lord, Jagannath. But then we should not take Arna Prasadam on that day. Now we can take on the next day. So with his life, with his teachings, to his associates also, he had shown with his example that how all the devotees should perform Ekadasi. So yes, we discussed in detail, right, how this Ekadasi helps in detoxifying all our body parts. It really helps in pacifying the mind. We talked about the moon or lunatics, or how this mind follows the pattern of also the moon, and it is very important that is to take care of this Ekadasi, so that our water components get reduced, and then our mind gets really zen, and then our soul. We discussed through the different perspective. First, we talked about the Puranic perspective, but most importantly, we discussed from our Vaishnava acharyas and from our Vaishnava scriptures, how this is really important for us, and how they have shown with their practice and through their preaching, this Ekadasi is really important. Yes, like just to add a little bit more, right? Like some research also, they say that most of the kind of DGJs, or most of the death happen from the day of Ekadasi to the 5th day of the waxing and waning moon, because most of the bodily deformities or problems happens during that time, because of this moon movement. So once again, there's one more reason, right? Like how we should be really conscious of going through that so-called elements, but how will you really take care of it by doing through this process of Ekadasi, and keeping all the senses and mind controlled, so that we don't have to go through the painful process. Okay, so that's how we discussed about why. Now let's follow. Once we are sufficiently now convinced, why should we observe Ekadasi to take care of our body, mind, and soul, which is really a feasting for each of them. And we'll say that how do we observe it? Okay, so you can really download this app called Vaishnav Calendar. This is our you can say official calendar, because it might happen that some of the times the day we observe Ekadasi might not be aligned with the people in general they observe Ekadasi, because our Ekadasi is really based on like Surya Siddhanta, which is really defined by the spiritual master Srila Prabhupada for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and like based on that calculation, sometimes what happens if we observe Ekadasi when the sunrise is on Ekadasi, but if this Ekadasi starts after the sunrise, then we follow the Ekadasi on that day. That's what we call it. We observe pure Ekadasi, Shuddha Ekadasi. So that's why there could be some differences. So I would request all of you that to download this Vaishnav Calendar app, and there, right, you will get this notification, or you can get it from there. What exactly is the day of Ekadasi? So for your information, day after tomorrow is the Ekadasi. So that we can prepare ourselves tomorrow, and we are ready for observing Ekadasi. To start, like yes, Gaur Purnima is coming, and that's the best gift that we can offer to Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He has come to show how to perform bhakti, and we say that how he told his mother, Sachi Mata, and all his associates to do the Ekadasi. And as Mahaprabhu comes, let's take this simple commitment and to observe Ekadasi, to please Mahaprabhu. So yes, this upcoming Ekadasi is on Monday, and here also you can see that okay, which is this Ekadasi Vrata. And I know that some of the here audience are from different parts of India and so on. So here in this app, you can also set your geographical location. And sometimes it can happen that it might also differ, right, from Bangalore to Brindavan to Mayapur or Bombay and so on. So please ensure that you maintain the right location in your app. Right? And then, as we discussed, it's also important that we break the fast on the next day at a specific time, and that's called Paran time. So here, like it is mentioned, okay, from this time to this time, like only in between that time we should break the fast, not before that or not after that. Okay. And then, like, what should we do on the day of Ekadasi? What to be avoided? Yes, as we discussed, we avoid grains, dals, peas, all the pulses, the mustard seeds, sesame seeds. Yes, sesame seeds can be taken, or til can be taken on Satil Ekadasi, but not otherwise. And sometimes, even some of the food items is mixed with flour or mustard oil, soybean oil, and things like that. So we should try to avoid. Also, you should really read the ingredients. If you use some masala or something like that, if they're really mixed with all these ingredients or not, if they're mixed, we should not use them. Okay. And then there are different levels of fasting. Something is called nirjala or dry fasting. There is something called falahar, where we take only the fruits and the fruit juices. And then, right, like, if the body doesn't allow, or from the physical perspective, psychological perspective, we can take anukalpa prasadam, right, like the fruits and roots, like the sabudana or barai or samarais or singada. So many things are available. And some of the devotees might be wondering, what is there, or is it only fruits and roots and some sabudana? But you can really prepare a feast on that day as well, right? And for your information, we have really, got some so beautiful, hundreds of recipes for you. If you really go to our ISKCON Directory or our Krishna.com sites, there are so many varieties, right? Even that's available. What else you can make it? Idli, dosa, and khichdi, and so many desserts and sweets. So many things you can really prepare on the day of Ekadasi. But once again, right, focus is not to really, using all our energy preparing all the recipes. As we said, Ekadasi is really meant for reducing our bodily needs so that we can increase our engagement from the spiritual perspective. Okay. Yes. To summarize it, the devotees aim and sum and substance is what should I do to really increase my devotion? What is favorable for my devotional service? And I should reject what is not favorable for my devotional service. Anukulasya sankalpa, pratikulasya varjana. That should be my decision box. If it is really helping my devotional service, or if it is not helping my devotional service. And that's why Raja is saying, Anyabhilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anabhrutam anukullena krishnaanusilanam bhakti ruttama. Uttama bhakti is what? We should perform the first class devotional service is that one must be devoid of any kind of material desires, and the knowledge obtained from monastic philosophy and fruitive action, and karma and jnana, it should be devoid from that. And the devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. And how do you know what Krishna desires? He has given it in through Bhagavad Gita, or in Bhagavatam. We can really learn from the Shastras. Or now we saw that how our Acharyas, they have shown with their example, what will really please Krishna. Yes, how our Acharyas, especially in Srimad-Bhagavatam, we have seen that how they have so much of taste and eagerness, to perform bhakti. And this is one of the very beautiful sloka that we really like. There's this king called Prithvi, and Prithu Maharaj. Once again, under whose name this whole Prithvi is there. This Prithu Maharaj is saying, Na kamaena tadapi aham kvachin, na yatra yusma charanam bhujo asavam, mahatamantar hrudayan mukhochito, vidatsva karnayutam esam. The devotees, they have so much of attraction, for hearing the glories of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord. The devotees are saying that, like Sri Prithu Maharaj is saying, oh Lord, I don't need anything. I don't need kaivalya, I don't need mukti. What do you need? When Lord is saying to Prithu Maharaj, he's saying that, my dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1 million years. For thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouths of your pure devotee. He's saying that, I need millions of cups. Why do you need millions of cups? No, I want to drink You want to be a drunkard? Yes, I want to be a drunkard. What do you want to drink there? I want to drink the nectarian beverage that is coming from the lotus mouth of the devotees, because that whatever is coming from the lotus mouth of the devotees, that is really submerged with the love of devotion in their heart. That's what, like, beautifully here, Prithu Maharaj is saying. What are you saying? Na yatra yusma charanam asama, that beverage, that nectar that is coming out of from the devotee's lotus mouth. I want to drink that. And what? Karna yutam. I need millions of years. So yes, we might not ask to have millions of years. At least we can use our 2 years that Lord has given to us properly. How we can perfectly use them in the service of the Lord. Not really gossiping, because most of the times, some might say that, Prabhuji, fasting from the food is okay, but I cannot fast from my social media, from my Facebook, from my WhatsApp, from my so many other stuff, right? How it is really important for us, to really keep them away, to keep them in the starvation mode, and then really engaging all our senses, in the service of the Lord. Yes, that's what our acharyas have shown with their example, that how we should be really endeavoring, to increase our attachment, to increase our love, for chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Once in Rupa Goswami is saying in a very beautiful verse, Agadamana yasoda nandana nanda suno kamalanayana gopi chandra vrindavanendra pranata karuna krishno iti aneka sarupe tvai mamaratiruchai vardatam namadheya. Goswami says, oh holy name, I pray that my love for you in your many forms, such as Aghadamana, crusher of Aghasur, Yasoda Nandana, son of Yasoda, Nanda Sunu, son of Nanda, Kamala Nayana, lotus-eyed, Gopi Chandra, moon of the gopis, Brajendra, Vrindavanendra, king of Vrindavana, Pranata Karuna, merciful to the surrendered soul, and Krishna may greatly increase. So, a devotee has so much desire to chant the holy names of the Lord. He doesn't want to stop. He wants to increase more and more. And he uses this day, especially Ekadasi, not to do anything else, but to chant and hear and remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. So once again, finally to conclude, so we can just summarize today's session maybe in 3 equations. I thought I'll just put it in a nice way. So we heard that grains, yes, definitely bad. We should avoid grains on Ekadasi. Yes, we should do fasting on Ekadasi, but most importantly, what is really very good, what is really excellent, is that we should fast, and then on top of the fast, we should hear, chant, and remember Krishna. And it should not happen that, we'll be doing fasting, and then, there is some headache, or, or there is some problem in the body, and then we are not able to chant, or not able to hear, we are not remember Krishna. And then our acharyas are saying that you take some food, and then you do these things. Because our purpose, once again, is to increase the devotional service, not to really fast and lie down on the bed. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So any questions, comment, reflections from any of you? I'd love to hear. So all of you are now sufficiently convinced to start Ekadasi, or if you have any questions, comments, doubts, I'd love to hear from you. Madhava Tithi, like this, as we said, this day is very, very close to the Supreme Lord. And so, yes, this purpose is not on this day to really to torment our body, but to transcend our body, to engage our bodily senses in the service of the Lord. Mataji is asking here what monastic philosophy. This is really like Advaitic philosophy, where somebody wants to merge into the Param Brahman. A devotee doesn't want to go into the that Brahman, because he feels that there is no opportunity to reciprocate with the Supreme Lord. He wants to go to the Supreme Lord so that he can get an opportunity to serve. A devotee doesn't want to go to this Brahman, to merge in the Brahman. That is about monastic philosophy. Yes, why people get headache on fasting? Yes, of course, I'm not the doctor, but I, like once again, because of the dehydration, or you don't get the nutrients, enough nutrient and the supplements, right? Your bodily unit gets dysfunctional, right? So That's one of the reasons. So if that happens, that you definitely you can take water, you can take juice, you can take fruits, you can take roots, or you can take this Anukalpa Prasadam. So as I said, more important is to really, focus on how can I really increase my devotion. So one time, one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, Loknath Swami, who Prabhupada calls him the Tukaram of our ISKCON, once he asked Srila Prabhupada, is it true that on the day of Ekadasi we chant 25 rounds? Prabhupada said, who said that? Prabhupada said, we should chant as many rounds as possible. I know some of you might be chanting 4 rounds or 8 rounds or 12 rounds, but whatever it is, whatever you have been chanting, but on the day of Ekadasi, we can chant more, a little bit more. And most importantly, we also use it as a review period. Like, yes, we have a yearly review, yearly appraisal process, and we use this Ekadasi also as a fortnightly appraisal process of our bhakti. How I have progressed from the last fortnight to this fortnight. Has my hearing, reading, chanting, and serving, my consciousness is really improving, or I'm really, declining. So it's like, once again, we use that as a test, but not that, okay, I get disappointed or get morose about it, but then I use that as a benchmark, so that I can really improve it further. I can really improve it further in my devotional service. Okay. Thank you, Susma Mataji. So Mataji is convinced. I'm sure some of you have already started performing Ekadasi. Janki Mataji saying, thank you. Yes, so here Prativan Chennai is asking, what is the difference between Vaikuntha Ekadasi and Ekadasi? So, like, as we heard that in a year, usually you have 24 Ekadasis, and the Ekadasi that we have, right, during this Margari month towards the end, and that's the day where it is considered very, really special for our Sri Sampradaya devotees. And that's the day they consider that, okay, they got this, the Vaikuntha Dwara opened, and that's really considered special. But for any devotees, right, especially if you even go to Udupi, where there's Udupi Krishna temple, on the day of Ekadasi in their kitchen, they will find a big lock, right? For all the Vaishnavas, all the Ekadasis, we don't take anything. Of course, though some say that, oh, we can take wheat, somebody says, oh, we can take rice, but not the wheat, and like that. But as we heard today, we don't take any grains, no pulses, nothing. And yes, different Ekadasis are having different names, Chittala Ekadasi and Kamakshaksavi, Bhaime Ekadasi, and so on. They have different pastimes with respect to each of them. But without going into the detail, right, yes, each of these fortnight days are really important for us to get closer to the Supreme Lord. Okay. Jagran is also vital to get complete fruit of Ekadasi Vrata. Like, as we said, we can engage as much as possible, especially our acharyas like Goswamis. We hear of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like Haridas Thakur and Raghunath Das Goswami and so on. It's not about Ekadasi. Every day, they used to take rest for one prahara. One prahara, like, or not one prahara, half of the prahara. One prahara is 3 hours, half of the prahara is 1.5 hours. They used to rest for only 1.5 hours. And rest of the time, they used to, engage themselves in the devotional service every day, right? But for us, our benchmark is that, okay, at least half of the prayer or the 2 hours or so, we engage ourselves in chanting. The rest of the time, so we, use for sense gratification. Yes, that is the aspiration. But definitely, once again, we do Jagran. But the next 2 days or 3 days, we cannot wake up, or next 2-3 days, our devotional service really goes down. Then that is not the purpose of it. We should really not do it, right? But if we have our body allows, right, without any, like somebody said, headache or any other issues, right, we can extend as much as possible. But first, we must ensure that it's not the day of Ekadasi, but on the Dwadasi also, right? We should have the same enthusiasm to perform the devotional service. It's not that, okay, हमारा एकादशी हो गया, द्वादशी में भी कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, चलो अभी grand feast करते हैं, let's enjoy Madi. No, so that we take that opportunity to get closer to the Lord. No, ऐसा नहीं है कि द्वादशी के बाद फिर से then we really go away from the Lord. Hopefully Naveen Katarki, had answered your question. Is reading of Ekadasi Pratakatha necessary? Not necessary, because there also some of the this Papa Punya and a lot of things are considered. For us, that is not important. For us, as we heard, reading Srimad-Bhagavatam is important. Reading Bhagavad Gita is important. Reading Chaitanya Charitamrita is important. Reading this literatures, that is much more important than just reading this Falastuti of this Ekadasi Vrata. Yes, there's a very nice question by Chanasya. She's asking that can children do fasting on Ekadasi? Usually it is mentioned in the scriptures that age of 8 to 80 years, they can do it. But in some cases, parents and the Matajis, if they do some nice idli or dosa or something, definitely they can offer it to the children as well, right? If they can take it, and we can encourage our children so that from the beginning only, their life becomes sattvic and they can take Ekadasi. But if somehow or other, if they're having some problem, definitely they can, take something. But we can encourage our children, whatever we taking, and definitely they would love it. And so a lot of kids, they also love, this lotus seeds and sabudana or barai or samara. It's so many varieties you can prepare. As I said, we have already given some references to you. You can just, find it out, and you can really make the children happy, right? They should not curse that, oh, what my parents have started taking, that I have to fast. You have to make the Krishna consciousness enjoyable for the children, not really a tormenting experience for them. Please remember this. The children, they should really love this process of Krishna consciousness. They should look forward to, right, performing all the aspects of bhakti, right? Neither chanting or nor any fasting or anything should be done by force, to the children. It should be a very joyful process. Okay, Ekadasi fasting is all about purifying your soul. Yes, we talked about detoxifying our body and pacifying our mind and purifying our soul. Yes, that is all about. Thank you, Srinivas. Yes, with that we can really get closer to the Lord. This helps in, and this is what because this is not a ritual now. Because ritual means, okay, we just follow mechanically something. But here we add spirit. Here we add our bhava. Then it becomes spiritual. When a spirit plus ritual becomes spiritual, then this Ekadasi Vrata is not like, yes, some smarta brahmanas or these people or that people also, they perform also Ekadasi just to get some piety or this and that. But we don't do this ritual. We follow the spiritual process, by adding spirit, by adding that bhava, that we are doing it for the pleasure of the Lordships. Hope, Srinivas Prabhu, that answered your thoughts. And thanks for adding that point. Ekadasi is a very powerful day. Srinivas Prabhu is saying to make progress in spirituality. Yes. During fasting of rice, flour, and pulses, and of course, definitely onion, garlic, we avoid it every day. Right? Even all that should be avoided. And yes, we can take fruits, sabudana, makhana. Yes, makhana is very, very crispy and very nice. And we can flours. Yes, flours like singhada atta and kuttuka atta, rajgiri atta. Yes, yes. Thank you, Srinivas Prabhu. Yes, those attas can be consumed. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All of you have been so engaging. With so nice reflections and so eager to now look forward to Ekadasi. Devotees, they look forward to Ekadasi because it's an opportunity for us to get closer to the Lord. It's not that, okay, Ekadasi means, we start thinking, oh, we have to fast. Oh, it's a really, problem for me, difficult for me. No, like this is an opportunity, just like, we are getting $1 million to invest now. Now it's really up to you, whether you, using that $1 million to make it $1 billion or to really make yourself as a bankrupt. Ekadasi are those wonderful days. Now we said, Madhavatithi Bhakati Janani, Jatane Palana Kari. These are so close to the Supreme Lord. It gives us an opportunity to get closer to the Supreme Lord. Okay. Mataji is saying that if family is against to do Ekadasi Vrata, should I? Yes, do the needful, whatever is required. But definitely, we should do it. Right, and at some point of time, the family members also will recognize, how it is important. And here, Pavitra Mataji, up to what time we can fast? Is it till afternoon? I can have fruits. So I said as a fasting, usually like in a very idealistic way, right? It starts from the previous day of Ekadasi. Like we said, Monday is Ekadasi. So usually some of the very staunch devotees, right? They don't take any prasadam after the sunset of the Sami, like from tomorrow night, tomorrow evening, we can say. But you can take like if you want, especially in the night also, but you should take as less as possible. Because you should not think that, oh, tomorrow I have to follow Ekadasi Brata and I will take 1 second till the head, because it takes some time to digest. And once you really go to bed, taking your stomach full, and the next day, right, all your body becomes heavy and you're not able to do chant and you cannot follow properly. So yes, you can start the fasting, from the previous night and also, right? And then it should be observed till the next day morning. Next day morning, as you said, that Paran time, like on the Dwadasi day in the app, you will get it, right? For this Ekadasi and Dwadasi, like I think the Paran time is 6:28 to 10:30 or something like that. So we should break our fast during that time. And how we should break our fast? If somebody is doing only Nirjala fasting, next day we should break our fast with water. If somebody is doing only Falahar, next day we should break our fast with the Anukalpa Prasadam. And if somebody is doing Anukalpa Prasadam as a fasting, next day we should break our fasting with the grain prasadam. So during that time, we should take grains. Or if you don't get grains, like some of the devotees I know that they get, from Jagannath Puri, this beautiful Mahaprasadam, and then they also break the fast with that as well. And yeah, some devotees also, they do that, okay, maybe till noon I'll take only Nirjala, and after that I take fruits. And some devotees said, okay, till noon I'll take fruits, and then I'll take Anukalpa, all the combinations you can do. But once again, I'm telling again and again, the purpose is that how we should get closer to the Supreme Lord. Fasting plus hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna is the most important thing, rather than just fasting. Fasting is just okay, just good. But if you want to really take this opportunity to get closer to the Lord, our focus should be how we can do this properly. Oh, Sushma Mataji is saying that I think Mataji's kids, I think very young, I think less than 10, and Mataji is saying that both my kids and myself are doing Vrata. Wonderful. You're so inspirational to all of us. They're excited to eat delicacies in the evening. Okay, yes. And Shama, this is Ekadasi fasting, ISKCON Bangalore, Amlaki. Yes, this is the timing. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, thank you very much. Once again, I would really thank all of you for your so much wonderful engagement and inspiration to perform Ekadasi. Thank you. Please pray for us so that whatever we have spoken, so that with that same energy and enthusiasm, we also do this Brata and make our life also perfect by following this process of Krishna consciousness so seriously and so sincerely. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thanks, Krishna Karunamurti Prabhu and all the devotees.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for enlightening us. We had a very wonderful session today. I would like to ask all the members, chant one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra for Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining with us. Hare Krishna. Hare Gopal. Srinidhi Prabhu, we can close today. Yeah, close for the day. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Srinidhi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Oh, yeah, class
Yeah.
is over. Prabhu.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Hare
I'm ending it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.